What's going on, people? Mr. Dore back again with another podcast. I hope everyone's fit and well. And yes, it's been 2 days since Nottingham Forest got a defeat against Sunderland. This time, we've got grumpy old Des here with me. So, people, if you can, do a massive favour for me. Hit the like button, subscribe if you know, and get Des' opinion on the whole game, on Ange, and everything that we talk about Forest. If you want to be a member, just like Colin, please do. Like I said, how you doing, Colin? Please do hit the member sign as well. And if you'd like to get any super chats towards my channel, it helps my channel a lot as well. He's finally, after I don't know how many years I've been telling him to get a YouTube channel. So people, I've clicked the link in the description for Have I Travelled. At last, I think Kane must have pushed him. Finally got a YouTube channel, ain't it, Des?
Indeed, I have. I thought I'd set it up. I'm not planning to do it like you pros do it. Just put a bit of my own footage on there. Obviously, we're going to Europe last week. I thought it'd be quite a nice way to keep a bit of a personal blog and one or two bits. Obviously, I do one or two interviews here and there. So without sort of doing too much content, I will share some of the stuff I do for others as well, that kind of thing. So, yeah, if you could give it a follow, really, really appreciate that. Just seem to be here, there, and everywhere with stuff at the minute, and it's so yeah.
All you gotta do, people, like I said, click on the link. Like I said, it's in the description and follow Des. Like I said, he's been like a content creator since lockdown. No, Bob, before lockdown, for running things. So, like I said, people, Des has just switched up his content, YouTube content for the Do Daily to Father Traveled. Click the link and subscribe to his channel. Before we do, we get everyone's link. People shouting, Sebastian, hope you're all good evening, fellow Five Fanatics. Bloody hell, we're a fanatic now, Des. No, we're not no super fan, as you've been called in the past. But yeah, shout out to Sebastian. Kel, I hope you're well. Evening, Dore and Des, hope you're well, Kel. It's your first European game with your son. So I hope you I know your son and yourself. You're looking forward to that as well. We've got this guy here, Davey. Hi, Ben. Hi, Super Des. Pest Punnik on here. Yes. Davey, I might just stop blocking you, my friend, if that's okay. I'm joking, Dave. I'm joking. Another one wants to support the bloke, but honestly, he's lost 22 games last season. He's not upgraded to Nuno. Like I said, I'm going to speak to Des about that throughout the show. We're going to do like 45 minutes because we know Everton and West Ham are playing, so we're going to watch that. Mohammed said, "Hi, Dore. I'm starting to lose patience with Ange. He needs to be Michelin, otherwise he's getting sacked." Right, again, we'll talk throughout the show. Right, Des, where we starting? We're starting, Des, because I said yesterday in my show, if you've not watched it, you can watch it after this one. Des is going to come on. He wasn't a happy bunny with everything. So we've got Des on. And people, if you agree or disagree with Des, get involved as well, people. Right, Des, Saturday's game. What was your thoughts on it?
Well, I'll start at my biggest gripe with it, full stop, and it was team selection. Look, I've supported I've actually tried to get behind the guy. Through this channel over the last 18 months to 2 years, and I was saying it early that I thought the guy was a bit of a fraud, and that I genuinely believe that before he come to Forest. But of course, I want to get behind him. I want to support him. I want Forest to do well. I'm quite happy to be proved wrong. And him to show me something. And to be honest, at times I've seen some stuff that the football's good and we create plenty of opportunities. But the first time I've had a real problem, and I don't think he should get the sack, and I don't think it's time up yet, and all this kind of thing. Let's be real about it. But the team selection was just incredibly poor for me. We all came back. I felt we all came back from Europe last week. I was on cloud 9. We had the best experience ever. We played some really good football, and I appreciate that. We've got lots of games in so many days and players need changing. But to rip out the whole front line, basically, 4 or 5 players who are so integral to what we do, I just felt it was suicidal. I felt he could have got the crowd on side from the outset at the City ground. You get a win after the back of all that happened in Europe midweek, and all of a sudden we're thinking massively forward again, rather than sort of questioning these old things about defensive tactics and is Andrew Ford and all these things, you know, we'd have been looking forward to Midtjylland and thinking, well, that's another win. And I just felt, as much as anything, and I'll get into the sort of tactical side of it, why not play a good team, get 3 points on the board, and against relative minnows, you know, every game's going to be difficult. Why not make them kind of changes for that game? I didn't understand why he put Dominguez in the team from the start. He's not kicked a football. You know, he's a combative player. He's in your face. He's going to work himself into the ground. So I'd have expected him to come off the bench maybe when we was in front. Cal makes a point there about Jesus. You know, he's in form. Foster's building a head of steam. Why then go rip it out? It's shown disrespect for Sunderland, and I think it's shown disrespect to the fans and the fact that they've created this narrative now, 17th for Europa League. Well, hang on a minute. Aston Villa and Porto and Roma and Betis and Midtjylland are going to have something to say about that. They're not going to say, you know, here's the Europa Cup because you're obsessed with this trophy and you can have it. You know, there's no guarantee that we're going to do one or the other. What Spurs did at the end of last season, and this is where everybody's got it wrong from a Forest perspective. You know, everyone's saying, well, I'd take 17th. Well, you wouldn't, would you? Because you don't know. And Sunderland and Wolves and whoever's down there, they're not going to let you finish 17th either, are they? They're going to want your position. But where everybody's got it wrong is Spurs were comfortable. We're getting to the latter stage of the league, but they made changes then because they knew they wasn't getting relegated. You know, we've still got to get points on the board. Leeds and Burnley and Leeds and Sunderland.
You keep breaking up.
The more they get, the more difficult it takes.
Des, you keep breaking up.
I'm not sure what that is. Is it okay now?
Keep talk.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but just every time you talk, you keep breaking up most of the time.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you know your video just breaks.
All right, I'll set it up on the phone.
Okay.
Okay, I'll set it up on my phone as we're talking.
Okay. Keep talking then.
Yeah, so that's just my feeling that we just had that chance to build momentum, and like I say, I think everyone's getting the wrong idea about how the season should pan out. Like I say, Spurs were safe, and then they put all the eggs in one basket. You know, when injuries hit and all these things, we should, with the signings we've made, you know, we still should have enough to be beating Sunderland. And let's face it, first off, I thought we was on the front foot. I didn't think we created too much, so we weren't that bad. You know, the performance wasn't that bad. But the second half, we was all over them. And it did look like if we'd get one, we'd get two and we'd win the game. I think Sunderland, despite the fact they've got points, Leeds as well, Burnley too, we've seen them in action. They don't look very good. You know, they don't look too dissimilar to those teams that were struggling. I think it's going to be one of those transitional seasons in the Premier League where everything kind of goes out of sync a little bit, apart from the top three. You can almost guarantee you that's going to be. But I just think that was my real frustration coming out of the ground. It was just of a missed opportunity, you know, and being on cloud nine all week after Seville. I had one of the best experiences watching football ever, you know. And then I come back and I was so up for the game, you know, on Saturday night. I was buzzing about and really excited. And then when I saw that lineup, I thought, what has he done? You know, it could have won, you know, and if it did win, I got questioned for this when I was talking to people in the pub after. I just said, masterstroke, yeah, I would, but ultimately it didn't win. So it weren't a masterstroke. You know, it didn't pay off. It was a gamble. And I feel like we're gambling on a European trophy that they've become obsessed with. You know, the obsession now has all become about this European trophy. And I think it's a pathetic way to sort of go about things when you're disrespecting a team that started well, despite the fact they might not be up at the top at the end of the season, by resting all your key players and players in form. Football is about momentum, consistency. Goal scorers love to get back out on the pitch, instead of coming into a difficult situation. And I just felt like if that's the way it's going to be a really long, tough watch across the season. So I just felt he'd done it the wrong way around. I'm not going to say Michelin's easy because it probably won't be, But the reality is it should be a lot easier than Sunderland, who are a Premiership side who've spent a lot of money, even though they're new to it. And I think that would have been your opportunity. But again, they've got this big notion that we're going to win this trophy. We've got a very good chance, especially if we play like we did in Betis. But we can't neglect what's going on. And again, like I said at the top of the show, I'm not after the guy yet. I'm not on his case big time. I just felt if you can't pick out that fault, I was trying to make this point to some fans and they were saying, oh, people like you don't know what you're talking about. It's coming. The thing is, yes, the last Swansea, Burnley and Betis, we had so many chances and it's good. And that first half was amazing. And I had to refrain myself from being disappointed at the end of the Betis game because it was good. It was that good. There was always going to be a bit where they come back into it. But ultimately as well, we've got to turn those into wins. And that's why I'm not after him at the minute. I'm still going to give him another 4 or 5 games, to really fully implement that, to start turning those chances. But if it keeps happening, there's something fundamentally wrong. If you keep scoring enough goals to win games and getting your nose in front and then keep conceding. And this is what I saw at Tottenham a lot. You'd put the scores on at 3:20 and they'd be 2-0 up. And you thought they'd be playing Wolves or someone or Brentford. And you think, oh, that's game over. It's going to be 4 or 5-0. And then you sort of check back in at the scores at 60 minutes and it's 2-1. And then somebody pops up with an equaliser, And it's that high-impact football. It's brilliant to watch and it's brilliant when the goals are going in. But sometimes it's hard to sustain. And look, the players perhaps have to work on the fitness. They've got to work on Ange's, what's being asked of them. And I think they're doing it well to some degree. But you've still got to find a way to win football matches. It doesn't matter whether we have a million chances in a game. It's the ones you stick away. And what we were brilliant at under Nuno, because they was confident in what they were doing, and I think that's key in all this, because they was confident in what they were doing under Nuno, they were getting barely any chances, and they were clinical because it was all set up in a way. And I don't want to compare the two. Look, forget Nuno. I love him for what he did for us. I'm not anti-Nuno now either, but he's gone. We move forward, and he's got a new club to manage today. But it was that confidence in their own ability. And again, what I saw on Saturday was what I saw at Burnley, where it felt like nobody was on the same page. Betis, it seemed to click. And that's why we was all excited and thinking, bloody hell, we have got a real chance of doing something this season. And then for him to rip it out, it just... I was so angry on Saturday with that,
You could tell. I could tell you was very angry. Very angry. Before we do, there's quite questions. But first one from Kevin. Des, this is exactly what we've been saying. He would gladly risk everything in Europa Cup, even risk the Premier League survival. I will never want to see him at a seat ground. And another one, and this is another question for you, Des. Des, spot on. Get points now. Best 11 played. Question is, does Ange know his best 11? People in the comments, does Ange know his best 11? Des, does he know his best 11?
I don't think he does, but he knows enough to. He knows. I don't think it's set in stone, but again, if he was going to make changes on Saturday, and I wouldn't have minded 1 or 2. The problem was he ripped out the very productive front line, which then nullified Anderson to some degree. You've got a guy who's not kicked a ball all season in Dominguez. He didn't play particularly bad, but it like I say, he's all action. He's going to run himself into the ground and then sort of burn out anyway, because he does that when he is fully fit. So I wouldn't have minded 1 or 2 changes, but to make all of those across that front line, he can't do too much with the defence at the minute. The defence is what it is. I think he knows that. And I think he probably knows most of his best 11. But again, I felt like you could have taken Gibbs White out and dropped McAtee in, and I probably could have just about accepted that. Or you could have had, but just to sort of digress slightly, what one feeling I have from watching Saturday was our best players, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, are still the ones we had under Nuno. So Callum Hudson-Odoi is still our most best and consistent winger. Seen good stuff from some of the other guys. Backward looked okay. Amari Hutchinson came on and did well at the weekend. But Callum Hudson-Odoi is still the best winger. So play him and one other. Bleed him in. What he's tried to do is come in and just change it. Obviously, Chris Wood, at the minute, Jesus is getting the nod over Chris Wood. So for me, you've got Jesus and Gibbs White almost as you attacking, whilst Gibbs White's not all out attacking, but those two up top. And then I would have taken one of them out. I would have taken one of the wingers out or one of the midfielders. Maybe two changes, and then bring them on as substitutes. Bring Dominguez into a game, maybe when you're 2-0 up, So he does that chasing, he does that scrapping about, but he's going to last it out for the rest of the game. And that's where I just felt that just took their eyes off the ball on that one. They're more that team, and I will say it, and this was what people were countering my argument with after the game, that team was more than capable of winning that football match.
100%.
Even the start, but it didn't. And again, football, I keep harping back to it. Football is about momentum and consistency. And when you've got players in form, you need them to play. And it is, look, it's early in the season as well. We're still sort of early in, and I know players have played in tournaments and Jesus has played in this Club World Cup thing. But we're still early. When it gets to sort of later stages, take your 5 players out then, or take them out when you've qualified for the Europa League because you've got enough points and you can't drop down the table. But I just felt it's too early to be doing that. And the guy who asked about the best 11, I don't think he knows 11 of his best 11. I think he's probably 8 or 9. I think the team that started in Betis is almost the best 11, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Des. I was going to go for the question, the finding Des, or left, right, centre. And the internet's fine, Des, anyway, so don't change it. How you doing, Kate? It's a job to know what's training, what's previous games. It should be what you do, mate. Kevin says, Colin, is that okay, mate? We got Angie now, and we are typical Angie Ball. Lee Tilson said, how you doing, Lee? We probably need stability now. Pick a team for next week games and run with them from there. Michael, I will ask you the question. I would ask Des quickly. Agree, Des. Well, Steve, how you doing, my friend? Even lads, one thing Angie brings is circus for media, and he seems like easy target, but he's most definitely needs results ASAP as well. Sebastian says, managers don't think in terms of the best 11, it's the best 15 because of the trends that are used to. Yeah, that's definitely 100%. This is from Michael, and like I said, Taiwo is in the Premier League team because of Aina's injured. Second question, where does Taiwo get a chance with this style of play? Do you think he gets a chance, Des? In Taiwo?
I'm not sure because I feel the pace of the game might just pass him by a little bit. Didn't look fit in the main last year. Of course, if they've not got Wood and they've not got Jesus, who appears to be the first choice, then they might have to throw him in. But look, everyone loves Taiwo for what he did in that period when he got us up. But he's not been fit, and I just feel the fact he was injury prone anyway. What worries me now is, and again, rightly or wrongly, I might be proved wrong, is the way they play. They seem to pick up a lot of injuries under his style. Taiwo picked up injuries in our slow build-up. If he's running back and forth and up and down, and doing that, I think he might be prone to a few more injuries. So, yeah, for me at the minute, you've just got to go with Jesus. is brilliant. You know, he's finding space. I watched him for about 5 minutes, just focused on what he was doing in the penalty box when we had that purple patch in the first half against Betis. And it wasn't so much what he was doing; it was just where he was running. You know, just a really clever player who's just got that knack of being in the right place at the right time, and that's off of a top goal scorer. You know, when you look at Shearer, he didn't rely on pace or being 6'7" or that kind of thing. You know, it was just being in the right place at the right time and finishing, being clinical, and that's what we need. And again, just on Taiwo, I'm not sure he's probably ready for the team, especially at the minute.
People, if you can do a massive favor for me, please do hit the like button. It helps me a lot. Make sure everyone subscribes to Des's channel. He's back on YouTube for other travel. So all you do is click on it and subscribe. If you can, like Des will be doing videos. And Des, when's your video out then? Have you done it or?
I don't know. I'm just going to put it together when I can. I've had a busy few days.
A few days, so people. Des's going to
crazy week.
Yeah, but what I will speak to Des about his experience about Betis later on in the show. Like I said, I'm going to go for the comments are flying in left, right, and centre. From Splash J Managers, I think you've read that. Right there. Kevin says, I think it hurts a lot about more than a playing style ship because Nuno has gone to West Ham. Steve, how you doing, my friend? I hope you're well. Details, and this is another good one. How is Colomendo going to get momentum? 12 minutes, and that's what frustrated me. I said that on yesterday's show. He come on at 88th minute. Why? I don't. This is what I don't get. Bring on. I
felt with Koulibaly. I felt he didn't do himself any favors in Betis. Do you know? And I feel that there was a passage of play where Morgan Gibbs-White played the ball through.
Yeah.
And Koulibaly stopped.
Yeah.
He made a run and then he stopped. And Ange absolutely lost his proverbials on the touchline. You know, he went mental at him, and then there was something else where he didn't control the ball. So I'm starting to wonder whether he's well. It appears that he's not in his first 11. We were talking about his first team. Yes, he's been limited, and hopefully there's a lot more to come. Let's face it, he played 2 games in really, really tricky conditions, and that doesn't matter because the conditions are the conditions. But the Swansea and the Burnley game, obviously Arsenal, we was not going to get much out of that. And then he's had sort of fleeting appearance in Betis, and then just a few minutes on the game the other night. So hopefully there's more to come there. I just feel he's not started great as under Ange, you know, and that's going to happen with players, isn't it? Some of them are going to take a bit more time. I said to you before, I was getting to the point and I distracted myself. I feel Forest's best team is Nuno's team with Douglas Luiz dropped in it. And then what he should have been doing is feeding players in. Perhaps, obviously, we got Dan and Dore who fitted in straight away. Perhaps swap and Dore for Bakwa 1 week, you know. Jesus for Wood, as he did. That was the first one. Then maybe look at the wingers. Then one game, like he did seem to, give Callum Hudson a Dore rest. Then he comes on and shows he's got all the quality. And that's how I think it would have been better to try and implement them. Because the Premier League's tough, you know, and Europe and wet nights in Swansea. These teams aren't going to give up and let these players just run all over the show. So, yeah, I just think it would have been better to ease them in. And one of my big frustrations with Ange, whilst I'm not totally against what's happened because you've seen really good stuff, is he just tried to change it too quickly. It's like a little bit of arrogance that I'm going to do it my way, you know. And I said it last time I was on. When Nuno come in, and he's a different type of manager, I get it. His style weren't too dissimilar to Cooper, but he said, I'm not going to change it. I've gone with Cooper's team. I've gone with Cooper's tactics for the first game because that's what the players know. And he's been moaning about not getting on the training pitch. Well, just go with what they know then. You know, yes, stop asking players to run forward at certain times. But it's like this thing with Zinchenko at left back. What's all that about? You know, whilst we're trying to be solid and not concede goals and get off to a good start, just keep him at left back for God's sake. Yes, it looks brilliant when he steps up into the midfield, and it really looks nice, and it gives us an extra man, and you've got your defenders moving forward. You saw at the weekend, Milenkovic and Morata both had a shot, and they played well. They've done well in that system, but I don't want my left back sort of coming in and then getting caught down that side, and it has happened. Not so much against Sunderland, and not so much against Betis, to be fair. And he had a tough opponent that day, but the first couple, and I think that's where he could have just gone, look, I'm going to implement my style over time. I'm going to ask the guys to play a bit different, but I want, like, particularly in your back line, for example, Forest's success was built on defensive hard work and resilience, so why not use a bit of that? Don't be stubborn enough to think you know it all, or arrogant enough to think you know it all about this team from day one, because he wouldn't. And I just think that's where got to question that. It's like, not like the bravado to some degree. I like I do think the narrative has been really, really unfair, as if he's just a one-track manager, because there is some, I keep saying it, some really good stuff, but you've still got to do the basics on a football pitch. Every football team is built from the basics, and it's almost like they're being forgot.
100%. The comments are going going really quick, and I appreciate people as well. If you can hit the like button. Scott said, I just got no confidence in Ange. Zenko needs to do one. I think everyone's been saying that. One Linfield said, losing to Sunderland, and I feel it caused fans to start losing faith. We all knew Ange from last season. No one truly wanted him, but we always backed the manager, but we need to stop winning games, and that's definitely true. Marlo, I hope you do, my friend. We all have to get behind the team. Not ideal, our best team. The toxic atmosphere at the end is not going to help us improve, and that's it again, 100%. Marlo. Like I said, we are bottom three. I miss Marcus won't want that, so we may end up with new manager again. Des has gone off. Should I take this one off, Des?
Yeah, change the thing around.
Yeah. So if we change that, what else is there? Comments still going in. Just our best two players have played all games.
Hello.
Nico and Ando, nearly all minutes aside from Swansea. Huh? Gordon says, sorry guys, he's effing useless. End of. Again, Moller says, Nuno on TV saying he will be silly to change too much at once at West Ham United. I think we'll watch that game afterwards as well. Zico against Lango is giving me nightmares. Oh, bloody hell. Me too. Lango's not even playing for Newcastle, to be fair, but imagine playing against us on Sunday. Me and Des will be there, as usual.
I'll go back in the other.
What? What do you say? Des? I don't know where Des has gone. Even Des, I don't know what he's doing. Oh. I could be 100% wrong, but I don't think, 1 second, identical these players. We need, I think, here he is again. I think Milan has met with this new fellow either from Greece or Australia. Let me ask you a question, Des. Like I said, this player that we mentioned, like Dominguez come in, McAtee, he's got he come in from Man City and this big reputation of playing good football. This was his chance in the Premier League to play good. I know, we can't it's his first game, and we can't to jump on him, bam, he's this and this, but do you think McAtee, and I know your answer over there, any chance of replacing Gibbs White? Because that's what he's there for, if I'm honest. But what's your opinion? What's your opinion on James McAtee?
Well, let me just get something off my chest before we have a big conversation about it, and because we don't need it. If anyone thinks Gibbs White is not important to this team, just look at the first half on Saturday. It tells you everything. Because when he's not in the team, things don't happen. I feel, look, now I've sort of taken stock of what happened and looked back, and having said the things I've said, McAtee's not started well. Again, it was going to take time. But again, what he's done is thrown all these players together in certain games. You know, the best thing to do would have been to bleed them in. You know, have McAtee on the pitch with Hudson-Odoi, Anderson, you know, Jesus, people who are on top of the game, to bring a bit more out of his game, to make him part of a winning team. You know, sort of. But again, it's all this. It just goes back to changing everything too quickly. Trying to sort of reinvent the wheel when we know it weren't particularly broken, you know, but they've gone. So he's gone big on changing it, and I don't think it's doing anyone's confidence any good. You know, I'm sure players aren't happy sat on the bench. You know, I'm sure players need a rest and they're doing too many minutes and things like that. But again, you've still got to find the consistency and the confidence and build players up to a point where when they get the shirt, you know if you play well and around the rest of the team who are doing well, you've got a chance of keeping your place. And I just he's not started particularly well. He looked a bit lost on Saturday. He looked lightweight, you know. But again, then he wasn't with sort of hardened Premier League players around him. There was one or two, of course, you know. But the guys sort of up top looked a bit flimsy at times, you know. I think Wood looks like he's lacking confidence as well, and there's no real link up there. But that's where, again, Gibbs White, I don't just want to talk about him for the sake of it, but he's already built up that relationship with Jesus. He's already creating chances for him, like he did with Brennan, like he did with Tyro, like he did with Wood. You know, and that's why he's so important. And that's why people will pay the money for him. It's all right saying he's crap, he's lost form, we don't care. It's absolute nonsense. You know, he's the best player. And it's unfair as well to sort of compare McAtee to him. Yes, ultimately, I get what you're saying. He's probably there to replace him. You know, if we can get the right players and we can start moving in the right direction. But that doesn't mean we need to try and change everything at once. And I just felt, look, Sunderland play in such a way that they're going to kick you, they're going to elbow you, they're going to do everything, all the dark arts, because we had to go through that. You know, and that's how we attack games. You're going to suffer. But Sunderland have actually got a bit of something on the break, it seems, and that's why they're doing okay. But I do think they'll get caned in games, but not at this point in the season, and not by inexperienced teams. And when I say inexperienced, I mean players that have not played as that team for a while. You know, if he's going to go with a Premiership team and a Europa League team, you know, do we really want our best team to be playing in Europe every week and watching us lose? Because football is about winning football matches, and the more you win in the domestic league, gives you a chance of Europe again. You know, it's not rocket science. It's a better chance to get in through the league than it is to actually pin all your hopes on getting to a final and winning it, being that one team for all of those. You know, so again, I felt a bit for McAtee when I settled down. Look, I questioned some of the signings, but we spent a lot of money, it seems, for players to sit on the bench. You know, what we wanted from spending that much money, I feel, was players to come in and hit the ground running. You know, and I don't think you could say anyone other than Jesus has actually done that. The rest of them, back was shown glimpses. You know, Louise is obviously feels like the real star of the show, and he's not fit. You know, everyone was on Nuno's case about not playing him, but there might be a reason now because he don't seem to be able to last out a game. So again,
that's the thing. You know when we hear like, oh, he won't last a game, but we start Dominguez on Saturday. This what baffles me a little bit because yes, Dominguez he got a little tight calf injury. Dominguez come in after 3 months out, and yeah, I'm a big Dominguez fan, but like I think you mentioned at the top of the show, he should have, if we're winning, then bring him on. Because like I said, I love Yates. I think we should have started Yates or even start Sangare, like and for what he did against Betis, but I don't know. It's just.
But I just look at the Gibbs White thing again. You know, without talking about him per se, he puts him on the bench, but then he has to use him at 45 minutes. So why not put him in and hopefully get to a point. But he fell into that trap, didn't he? Because at Swansea, he started pulling them all off, and then we let silly goals in. Look, the Swansea game was a fluke for Swansea. I don't attribute any of the blame to Ange. It was just one of those bizarre days where we had all those chances and one goal at the right time, and we would have just seen it through. Look, Swansea got one from a corner. You can always get that against lower league teams. And then they get an absolute worldie because the way he struck that ball, most of the time that goes over the stand. So that I didn't blame him for taking the players off, but I think he's probably, because it's so patchy and so messy, there's been mistakes made, and he's scared to do that because, like I say, with Gibbs White, if you put Gibbs White and Jesus on, and Louise is obviously not fit, but some of the others who started, Callum Hudson-Odoi, try and get 2 or 3 in front, and then pull them off, because they're only playing minutes anyway, and they're probably coming on in a much more difficult situation, where they're having to chase, run, they can't manage the game properly because all they're trying to do is score a goal. Yes, of course that happens from the outset, but you build into a game, you manage through it. And I just felt like if the players are going to come off the bench because you're losing, you may as well start with them and try and win. It doesn't make any sense, because ultimately we've got to win to actually maintain the levels and build confidence. And you can't. Football's funny now, and substitutes do a lot to ruin it. I saw someone say something about the subs. They do ruin it when you bring on so many, and I think sometimes this is why you see big turnarounds, is particularly from the bigger clubs, because they've got all that strength in depth. But I totally agree with that point there. No subs until 3 up. We've seen it under Cooper against Luton, didn't we?
Yeah.
Pep Guardiola never makes his subs until they're 3 up, because we've always known, right back pre-Billy Davis days, but Billy Davis was a big one for it. 2-0 is a dangerous scoreline. 2-0, because you get a goal, you've got all the momentum. You get a goal and make it 3, like we should have at Swansea, and they're not coming back. So again, it was just the team. It was the team selection. It really was.
People, if you could do me a favour, please do hit the like button. There's 40 in. If you just all you do is hit the like button if you can, subscribe. Des, I said this to the chat yesterday, and I want your opinion. And people, if you are new to what I'm going to say, get involved. So last season with Spurs, he finished 17th and won Europa. If Forest finish 17th and win Europa, would you be happy? Yes or no?
Yes, if you could guarantee you're going to win the Europa League, but you can't play for that. You can't play for that because you don't know you're going to win it. Other teams are going to try and stop you along the way. If you look back at the end of the season and say, "Are you happy with that?" You take it. You take it every day because it's a trophy, and we get a big night in Istanbul, and we get a bus parade, and we've won another trophy. You take it, but you can't guarantee it. It's just it's almost got to manifest itself by doing well in the league and doing well in Europe and building confidence. But what happened at Spurs was unique, and you can't. They still won a trophy, so I can't discredit him or Spurs that much. But the passage through, they got nice draws, at times. The players were coming back from injuries, and he was managing them, and he was just playing them in Europe against these relatively beatable teams. Then they weren't playing at the weekend again because they had the points on the board. And the problem is, if we're in 17th come January, we're in a relegation battle. Nobody's going to be saying, "Oh, what? But we might win. We might just stay up, and we might win the Europa League." If you was third in January, or even mid-table and relatively secure, and you're still in it, yes, do what you did on Saturday. But that's not the foundations to build from, because you just can't guarantee that you're going to do that. But yes, on one hand, I'd look back and say, brilliant. But you can't be asking for that at this point in the season because that's just.
What about League Cup though? Is it right? Forget the Europa Cup. If he wins a, I don't know, FA Cup or I don't know, Europa Cup, is that still successful? If we finish 17th again and we're in the FA Cup, is that still?
Of course, it's successful, but
Because we won a cup, haven't we? That's the thing. We won a cup.
They've got obsessed with this, and you can't take your eye off the ball. Don't be arrogant enough to think you've made it. You know, they always say in the Premier League, the second season's the hardest, and it is, because teams often think if they stay up the first season, oh, we've made it, we can go and do this, we can go and do that. Forest nearly fell into that trap as well, you know, and we had to the owner took a massive gamble with PSR and points deductions, you know, and it paid off because of the weakness, really, of the league. That it was the weakest league last 2 years it's ever been. But how many teams have thought, oh, yeah, we survived that season? Sheffield United, Hull, and all sorts of teams down through the Premier League years. You know, and second season, but it's more not about the second season. It's more when they feel they've made it. You know, West Ham, oh, we won a European Cup. Let's sack David Moyes. You know, when they think they've made it, football's got a habit of biting you on the backside. And Charlton, all those years ago with Kirbishley, finished seventh. You know, they don't want him anymore. He's a rubbish manager. And then they get relegated and spend 20 years in League One. You know, and you have to be careful what you wish for in football because it's not that straightforward. Like Swansea, look, we was in control, right? We're in a trophy game. We're in a game that might bring us a trophy. We're in control. We're in the hat for the next round. Bang, bang, bang. You can't guarantee anything in cup football, you know, because it's a one-off in reality. You don't always know who your opposition's going to be, where they're going to be in their sort of season. And especially in Europe, I made the point on my pre-match thing. You never really know what Europe's going to throw at you because you don't see it as often as the Premier League. And you definitely don't know at the start of the season because you've not even seen these teams sort of in action in Europe. You know, as the competition goes on, you might learn a lot more about them and you might know what you can do and how you can sort of manage your squad. But early in the competition, if you want to get through, unfortunately, you've got to go with the same team. But you can't neglect everything that's going on, you know, behind the scenes or back in the Premier League. Because cup football, as you've seen, it can be bang, bang, and you're out. You know, whether it's Swansea, Betis, or, you know, Grimsby Town.
It's going to my new fans. There's quite a question on but have I missed anyone? This is from Nick. I can't say I'm not worried. Name 3 teams were much better than. What do you mean? I think in the Premier League, who's worse than us? Like,
I think Sunderland and Leeds in particular and Burnley will have, and Burnley haven't picked up that many points, but they will drop off because there were times when we've outplayed these teams.
I don't think Sunderland will go down, Des. I
don't necessarily think they'll go down, but they'll be down there.
They'll be down there, but
because I think Sunderland in particular play a really dangerous game where
I like Jacka though.
They have to hang in there, eh?
I like Jacka though. I think with his experience.
Oh, he's brilliant though, but they play a game where they have to hang in there and hang in there and hang in there and then pinch the game. You know, and it's worked. It's got them promoted. They did it at Wembley. You know, and it's got them some points early in the season. They were behind, you know, but the problem for Sunderland is when they get 1 or 2 injuries, you know, and they go 2-0 down and they've lost 2 or 3 on the spin. Will they come back from it? I've seen it with like Sheffield United and Hull in the past, you know, where they just lost like 16 games in a row. And after Hull was 3rd in the Premier League one year and then just lost for a season and a half, managed to scrape up on the last day.
Blackpool won it.
It
was like Blackpool, wasn't it? When Blackpool started well.
Yeah, it started well. And I think you'll see that from some of these teams because if you actually watch the football, it's not great. Sunderland weren't great against us. They were still there for the taking, and that just kind of adds to my frustration because yes, we are creating chances, but we are also playing two of the so-called weak teams and a championship team. And so 3 of those games, you'd have liked to think a good Forest side playing fairly well would win. So it does get worrying because Arsenal, we didn't have a kick. Yes, Betis, we've shown a lot more. But when we come up against Newcastle next Sunday, I'm dreading it. I'm absolutely dreading it. I think we'll beat Midtjylland on the weekend. Then we've got Newcastle. Then we've got Chelsea. Well, we've got Chelsea coming up, haven't we?
Chelsea.
I don't know. Is it Newcastle, Chelsea?
Newcastle, Chelsea, Bournemouth, Man U.
Well, Man U's fine, but the rest of them. But that's what I mean. They're tough games. Bournemouth away, where we was post Brentford and even to some degree post Betis, we're thinking we can go and do this, but we're not beating Premier League teams. We've played 3 of the worst teams in the league, and they've all got more points than us. Well, Burnley might not have, I'm not sure, but Sunderland and West Ham have probably got more points. I don't know. I might be wrong on those stats with points. But that said, we've played them and not beat them. We've played Burnley, Sunderland and West Ham, who are likely to be in the bottom 5, and we've not beat them. We've got stuffed by Arsenal, which I'll take. And, of course, we were brilliant against Brentford. Everyone was saying they were poor. Look where they are now. So it's going to be a tough season. I get the point where the chap's asking about 3 worst teams. I think there is 3 worst teams, and I think we will be okay. I just feel that we can't neglect it in the same way we did on Saturday.
100%. I'll ask you 2 more questions before, because we do want to watch the West Ham and Everton game. The Dominguez one, do you think he was right to get booked?
That's what Dominguez is, isn't it? And sometimes you'll get it and sometimes you won't. Look, it's easy, and I've got myself into trouble, not having a go at referees when everybody's hyped up against them. Remember the Liverpool game?
Yeah.
But look, if you don't dive about like a twat, we don't give away the free kick, and then we don't concede that goal. It's as simple as that. There was all crying about that Liverpool game when it should have gone back to the keeper because then the goal wouldn't have gone in at the other end, blah, blah, blah. Well, if he don't do that in the same circumstances, none of that happens. And look, they pushed shins. It wasn't a free kick, like Ange says. It wasn't a free kick for anyone. But the problem was he dived on the floor. He
made it 10 times worse. That's an extra show.
And it didn't look like you could touch it. So then when, I don't know whether they looked at that on VAR. I don't even know if they could look at that. Then they cheat. Then they throw the ball over,
Can't defend.
And we can't defend it. And that's the bigger issue in all that. So, been saying for years, haven't I? I've got myself into so many arguments. Let's sort our own ass out.
There's always good arguments. You follow on next, he's always marking.
Yeah, but let's sort our own ass out. Put our own ass in order. Do what we do. Finish our chances. Defend set pieces. And we're not even having this conversation about the manager. But again, it's all like, oh well, we didn't get this free kick or we didn't do that. Well, like I say, do things properly. Work from the basics. And before you know it, you'll start picking up results.
One more before, Dad, we win on Thursday, Midtjylland.
I think we will. Look, we should do, and I think even more so now because he's going to have to. Surely, he has to throw them players back in. That was always in the plan anyway, because that's why he rested them against Sunderland. But I saw some tweets after the game and someone nailed it and was like, why didn't you just play that team against Midtjylland? And then if you're struggling in that one, bring them on because they've had another 4 or 5 days, no flights this week, all this kind of stuff happening. Because then we play Thursday and we've got a Sunday game up in Newcastle. Yeah. So, but look, I think that game's there for the take, and they're never easy. Palace played a team who'd played them, didn't they? And find it tough. But I think again, if we'd have played them straight after Betis, I felt we'd have beat them 4-5-0.
Mm.
I still feel we can, but you know how these games can often be. They often finish 2-0 or even 1-0 sometimes because again they'll be desperate to win the game. But I feel if they don't win this one, then it doesn't matter what I think about the manager picking the team or whatever, or whether we should give him more time, because I do think we should. But none of that will matter, because if we don't win that one and we go to Newcastle and we play Chelsea, and that's 8 games without a win, then you don't need to ask me. Just look at the owner's face, and that'll tell you what's going to happen next. Because he's not going to put up with it, is it? It seems like a lot of Forest fans love Marinakis, but then they're telling each other to be patient in this. Well, if you love Marinakis and you're so invested in what he is, surely he's not going to be sat there happy.
No, exactly. I think there's a picture on social media with him and Socrates. Socrates, I think his name is. I'm not impressed at all. So,
and at the moment, we don't know where that. Like, it's easy to say he's not impressed with the manager just for the sake of headlines, but we don't know where that anger's.
The best buddies, though. That's the problem. Them two are buddies. Them two are buddies. Ange and Marinakis.
Well, exactly. So we don't know where his anger is aimed at the moment. It could be aimed at the players on the pitch. It could have been the referee, as it quite often is. So again, we just have to wait and see how that one develops. But if we get to 8 games in, it's going to start getting twitchy, isn't it? Because then we've got Porto next, which is going to be
Porto at home. Porto,
that's not going to be easy. We've got Bournemouth away. We've got Liverpool coming up away.
Oh, God.
And it looks like the only winnable games as we are at the minute are Midtjylland and Man United.
Oh, God. Well, we never beat Bournemouth away. Bloody hell. Oh, God. We need to beat Bournemouth. We've got to beat Bournemouth. Lots of people, we'll tell a bit before we go, a little bit positive news. I'm going to put this picture up. This man by himself, Dan Oldham, completed the half marathon. He's got his beer as well. Is that your beer, Des?
I saw that. I didn't see it when I posted it, and then I thought, damn.
What was tell everyone, Des? What was your time for
2 hours? 2 hours. A relatively. I'm pleased with that.
Did you? You know what? I've done it twice. Did you? When it comes to like the 12th, like length for 12th mile, don't you feel your calf going a little bit, or it's just standard? You're used to it. You run every day, so you're just used to it now.
Yeah, my legs hurt a bit today because I have to put a little bit into run that sort of distance and that time. But of course, I've done lots of these things now, so it's almost a bit of second nature. I wouldn't advise anybody, but sometimes when you've done them before, you know what to expect.
Yeah,
but
so that's a bit.
It's a great event in the city, and what a week I've had going out to Betis. And
before we do, tell everyone, because like I said, when I was doing my YouTube, Des came from behind, waiting from behind, like, what's he doing here? What's he doing here, Des Oldham? So yeah, tell everyone, Des, what was it like? Because we had after everyone, it was an amazing time, man. But tell everyone, what was your feelings on just being there?
Oh, it was incredible, and I've had some good days with Forest in the last few years. We've all done Wembley. I've always banged on since Brighton in the FA Cup how much I love that day. I've seen Forest in friendlies abroad. We went to Valencia. All great experiences. I went to Wembley when I was a kid and all those things. But that was just as an adult to go and watch Forest. And the thing is, I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. As much as I wanted it to be brilliant, I didn't expect it to be that good. It was, sort of, I had a bit of an adventure anyway, as I always do. I think Gordon alluded to it, earlier. And I had an adventure. I met up with lots of Forest fans. We got up there, got the tickets. And then the walk, the square and the walk up to the stadium, everyone was in such good spirits, weren't they? And then the stadium didn't look that impressive from the outside, I thought.
No, it did it?
When you got in, it was incredible, and the atmosphere, the Betis fans were fantastic. And people can question light shows and clapping and this and that, all the one, you know, and pre-match songs. We've got one of our own, and it's brilliant. But they had their pre-match song, and it all just added to the occasion, and it was so noisy. They were really partisan as well. I remember there was that one where Zinchenko went down injured, and then he had to go off the pitch, and they was all up in his face, weren't they? Like, really sort of giving him some. So I love to see that. You know, that's football. It doesn't matter if it's the opposition, and like I say, the atmosphere, and then, you know, sort of journey back and all those. I couldn't believe how good it was, because I just thought, you know, sometimes you could perhaps go and we could have got beat, and it might have been a bit flat. Some stadiums are half empty. You know, there were 57,000 there. Yes, there was lots of empty seats because it holds 70, but it isn't their stadium either. And again, you might have thought, will they be able to create the same kind of thing? But just seeing everyone, you know, and everyone in great spirits. I mentioned in my own little write-up.
I read that. Amazing, good one.
I mentioned the police and that they were very strict, weren't they?
Very strict. Very strict.
You know, if you didn't do it wrong, they wouldn't.
My lot saved Dave at the end. That says save Des at the end, and all that.
Well, again, I was grateful to you guys because I'd run out of battery, and I had all my tickets, my trains and my flight tickets. Do you know I ended up walking 4 miles back to the bus?
4 miles?
From the ground to the bus, it was 4 miles.
Oh my God, that's mad.
I got a bus back to Ben.
We saved your life, Dad. We saved your life. Right, people, we're going to get going. We're going to watch the West Ham Everton game. But people, like I said, Dad, I don't know when it soon should be up. Make sure everyone follows Des's channel. Far Have I Travelled on YouTube, and as well as on X and Instagram. He'll be doing fast content there, so the joys I've been telling him over and over again, Des, get on YouTube. So, but yeah, people. Like I said, it's been a great show. Thank you, Des, for taking your time, and as well, well done on your half marathon as well. If you are involved in half marathon, well done to you. I know there's a few people that I know was on there as well, so congratulations to them. We got Mitch Lund on Thursday. Might do a video on Wednesday, maybe not. I don't know. So I feel, but yeah, it's been a great show. Like I said, people, before we do go, make sure you do hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and like I said, it's gonna be. Let's say it's gonna be hard times, really hard times this season, and it's gonna be ups and downs. Ange needs to get his first win. We've got Mitch Lund, Newcastle. Then we've got international break, and next people I'll be doing a quiz as well. So if you want to get involved with the quiz, message me so we can get involved with the quiz. Right, it's been a peace and love as well. Thank you for everyone taking part. Before you do leave, please do hit the like button. Will it come up? It does. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. And like I said, people, subscribe to my show. Subscribe to Des. And I'll see you soon in the next video. Peace and love. Up that bloody forest.